They called us primitive. We taught them fear. They came in daylight, because they wanted us to see. The skies over Earth split open, not with thunder or lightning, but with shadows. Great angular vessels slid out of nothingness, blotting the sun with their sheer size. They moved in silence, predatory and patient, their metallic skins gleaming like blades against the blue. In New York, traffic halted. People climbed onto cars, their phones shaking in their hands, eyes wide with disbelief. On the beaches of Rio, children pointed skyward, laughter fading into terror. In Beijing, whole streets fell silent, millions staring upward as daylight dimmed under colossal silhouettes. They didn't cloak themselves, they didn't hide. They wanted humanity to watch, to feel small. The first message came not in words, but in vibrations. Radio static bending, televisions glitching, phones buzzing with alien tones. Then, across every screen and every speaker, a voice thundered. Smooth, cold, drenched in contempt. People of Earth, you stand at the edge of history. The Galactic Coalition extends its hand. You are primitive, but we will uplift you. You will be assimilated. The word lingered, sharp as a blade. On the bridge of the alien flagship, the fleet commander stood tall, wrapped in ceremonial armor. His name was Varix, and his eyes glowed like molten gold as he surveyed the blue planet below. To him, Earth was a curiosity, a world that still scarred itself with war and tribal lines. He turned to his officers and sneered. Fire starters. Nothing more. Soon they'll kneel. This primitive rock will bow as countless others have. Back on Earth, the United Nations scrambled. Emergency councils lit up with panicked chatter. American generals demanded defensive measures. European leaders begged for diplomacy. Across the Pacific, Chinese admirals ordered fleets to mobilize. But what could steel and gunpowder do against ships the size of cities? Still, Earth tried. From Cheyenne Mountain, a military transmission cut through static. This is Earth Defense Command. Identify your intentions. We demand clarification. The transmission cut off mid-sentence. Every screen across Earth flickered black before the alien voice returned, sharper now, almost amused. There will be no negotiation. We do not ask. We take. Panic rippled across the planet. People ran through crowded streets. Markets crashed. Borders closed. Yet amidst fear, there was a harder edge rising. Defiance. Soldiers gripped rifles they knew would barely scratch alien armor. Engineers whispered about reverse engineering whatever they could seize. Parents clutched children tighter, swearing no invader would own their future. The alien fleet descended lower. Their gravity pulled at the oceans, tides swelling against shores. Shadows stretched across entire nations as their warships hovered, deliberate and cruel. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower stood half-swallowed in darkness. In Cairo, the pyramids gleamed under artificial light from the alien engines. In Tokyo, skyscrapers rattled as if bowing to a silent storm. It was spectacle, intimidation crafted with surgical precision. Commander Varix opened a private channel to his subordinates, his voice dripping disdain. These humans, they do not even have unified governance. They cling to their ancient borders, their myths of freedom. Pathetic. A fractured species cannot resist. His second-in-command hesitated. And yet, their history. Records show repeated wars, rebellions. They endure much. Varix laughed, a harsh, metallic sound. Endure? Yes. But enduring is not winning. They are animals fighting in the dirt. We are here to civilize. But on the ground, something stirred. In a small cafe in Warsaw, an old veteran clenched his fist. In Lagos, resistance groups whispered about how to strike when the time came. In the mountains of Afghanistan, fighters cleaned rifles that had passed through generations. And in the bunkers of Colorado, Generals began sketching desperate plans, because humanity had seen conquerors before, armies had come and gone, empires had risen and fallen. No one had ever united Earth completely, but an invader might just succeed where diplomacy had failed. Above the planet, the alien fleet positioned itself in perfect formation, an iron halo choking the skies. Their message repeated again, echoing. Like a death knell, "You are primitive. You will kneel. Resistance is futile." The words cut deep. Yet in the silence that followed, in the hearts of billions watching the skies, something ancient burned. Fear, yes, but also anger, defiance. A whisper rising in every soul. We've heard this before, and we're still here. The aliens didn't know it yet. But the day they arrived in daylight, the day they chose spectacle over silence, was the day they made their first mistake. Because humanity does not kneel. Humanity fights, and the fight had just begun. Cliffhanger. Alien transports detach from the fleet, plunging into Earth's skies. First contact is coming, not with words, but with boots, armor, and blood. They called us primitive. We taught them fear. First contact was not peace. It was humiliation. The alien transports screamed through the sky like falling stars, splitting the clouds with fire. Their hulls glowed orange from atmospheric entry, leaving long scars across the heavens. Cities across the globe watched in frozen awe as the invaders descended, majestic, terrible, unstoppable. Paris was chosen for the first landing, not for strategic value, but for theater. The coalition wanted a stage. The massive silver craft hovered over the Champs-Élysées, its shadow swallowing the Arc de Triomphe whole. With a hiss of pressure and a surge of light, its ramp extended. The world held its breath, and then they walked among us, towering armored figures, their plating glowing faintly with lines of alien energy, helmets like insect faces, weapons slung. Across their backs, humming softly, promising annihilation with a twitch. They moved in perfect formation, heavy footsteps rattling windows. To them, it wasn't occupation, it was parade. Civilians gathered, unsure. Fear fought with curiosity. Some raised signs, "Peace! Welcome!" Others shouted defiantly, "Go home!" The air was thick with uncertainty. The alien commander of the landing unit, a figure encased in emerald armor, looked across the crowd as one might regard insects in a jar. He turned to his soldiers, voice amplified for all to hear. "Observe. Them, weak, divided. They look at us with awe, not anger. This will be simple." But then, a moment shattered the performance. A boy, 16 maybe, stepped forward from the crowd, clutching a wooden sign painted with shaky words. "Earth is not yours." His voice trembled, but it carried. The alien commander chuckled, his metallic laughter booming across Paris. "Defiance from a child? Charming. Watch how quickly defiance dies." He struck the boy with a casual backhand. The youth crumpled to the ground, blood splattering the pavement. The crowd screamed. Mothers dragged children away. Others shouted in rage. Cameras caught it all, the first blow of conquest broadcast across Earth in real time. But in that chaos, something happened the aliens did not expect. A man, middle-aged, unarmed, charged forward. His hands were empty, but his fury was not. He swung wildly, his fist crashing against the alien's glowing armor. Futile, the crowd thought. Hopeless. And yet, something cracked. The alien staggered, clutching his chest as sparks danced across his armor. The strike hadn't broken bone, but it had broken something in their technology. A flaw. A weakness. The crowd froze in stunned silence. Then whispers spread like wildfire. "Did you see that?" He hurt it. A human hurt it. The alien. Soldier snarled, humiliated. He drew his weapon, but before he could fire, bottles, rocks, and steel pipes rained down from the crowd. The air filled with the thunder of defiance. Civilians surged like a tidal wave, unarmed but unbroken, swarming the armored invaders. The soldiers fired, blue energy bolts ripping through stone and flesh. Screams echoed down the streets as bodies fell, but even as people died, others surged forward, refusing to break. The square became chaos, blood, fire, and fury. From above, drones recorded everything. Across the globe, billions watched the impossible. Humanity, unarmed, drawing blood from gods. In the command ship, Varix seethed. His golden eyes burned with rage as reports poured in. A malfunction? From blunt trauma? Impossible. Their primitive metals should not pierce Coalition alloy. Yet the footage was undeniable. One strike, one flaw. He turned to his lieutenant's, voice sharp as a blade. Erase the footage, quell the mob, remind them what it means to defy the Coalition, drown their rebellion in fear. But it was too late. The image was already spreading. An alien soldier on his knees, sparks flying from broken armor, surrounded by humans who refused to kneel. On the streets of Paris, the surviving civilians dragged the fallen alien soldier into an alley, hiding, him away like a trophy. For the first time, the impossible felt real. A girl, no older than 10, whispered as she stared at the captured alien weapon clutched in human hands. They can bleed. And that single phrase, broadcast, repeated, whispered in countless languages, ignited the fire. Humanity had taken its first wound, but so had the invaders. Cliffhanger. In orbit, Commander Varix slams his clawed hand against the console. His order is simple. No more mercy. Retaliate. Show them what fear truly is. Alien warships begin to charge their weapons, preparing for escalation. They called us primitive. We taught them fear. They thought they'd broken us. Instead, they woke us. The bombardment of Paris was meant to be a warning. Alien dropships strafed the city, plasma fire tearing through monuments, leaving nothing but flame and ruin. Broadcasts showed civilians scattering through smoke-choked streets, their screams echoing between the fallen stones. The Galactic Coalition believed the lesson was simple. Resist, and you die. But in their arrogance, they didn't notice the spark. Across the world, that single image, an alien soldier crumpled by a human strike, spread faster than any missile. It replayed on screens in bunkers, in crowded taverns, in refugee camps. A voice carried with it, haunting and electric. They can bleed, and when an enemy can bleed, they can die. In the forests of Vietnam, old guerrilla fighters taught a new generation how to move silently through jungle shadows. In the deserts of North Africa, nomads buried alien patrols beneath shifting dunes. In the mountains of South America, resistance groups struck at supply lines, detonating crude explosives beneath hovering transports. Humanity didn't wait for orders. It moved like wildfire. In Lagos, a gang of teenagers hijacked an alien drone using nothing more than scrap electronics and a stolen radio tower. In Moscow, ex-soldiers tunneled beneath occupied streets, laying traps with homemade explosives. In the frozen wilds of Canada, hunters painted their faces in ash and snow, stalking alien patrols with rifles older than their grandfathers. The Coalition, used to wars of order and calculation, found only chaos. Reports flooded the flagship. Patrols vanishing without trace, convoys ambushed by weapons far beneath modern standard, soldiers whispering of unseen predators watching them from shadows. Commander Varix snarled as he slammed his fist into the command console. They are disorganized savages, yet they strike with precision. They do not march as armies. They hunt. His lieutenants shifted uneasily. They had seen it too. The unpredictability, the madness. Humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like survivors. Every alley, every sewer, every forest was a weapon in their hands. On Earth, resistance grew bolder. In the ruins of Paris, survivors lit fires in the rubble and shared food stolen from alien stockpiles. A scarred veteran told them stories of older wars, his voice hard but steady. They want us afraid, but fear cuts both ways. Tonight we take back our streets. That night, the first true ambush was sprung. Alien patrols marched through the ruins, their glowing armor casting light across broken stone. From the shadows, humans struck, Molotovs arcing through the air, flames clinging to alien plating. Gunfire rang out, crude bullets shattering glowing visors. Steel pipes swung, knives flashed, bodies fell. The aliens fired back, blue energy, bolts tearing holes through buildings. Walls crumbled, streets cracked, humans fell by the dozens. But for every fighter that died, 2 more took their place, screaming in rage. The patrol broke under sheer ferocity, retreating in panic. And for the first time, alien blood stained Earth's soil. Civilians gathered around the burning wreckage of the patrol, disbelief turning to triumph. A woman lifted a captured alien, rifle holding it high. The crowd roared, not with fear, but with fury. In a bunker beneath Colorado, Earth's fragmented militaries shared intel, maps, and codes. Nations that had once mistrusted each other now sat side by side, bound by necessity. "This isn't about borders anymore," an American general said. A Chinese admiral nodded. "It is about survival, and survival means unity." For the first time in history, Earth's armies began to speak with one voice. But in orbit, the aliens prepared to escalate. Commander Varix glared at the planet below, his golden eyes seething. With contempt, his voice thundered across the command deck. "Enough games! They mistake our restraint for weakness. We will remind them what true fear looks like." A subordinate hesitated. "Commander, orbital strikes against civilian zones will—" "Silence!" Varix roared. "Fear is the only language primitives understand. Burn their cities, let the smoke carry our message." And so the order was given. Above Earth, plasma cannons aligned. Giant warships began to hum, their weapons charging with the power of suns. Down below, humans looked to the skies as the clouds glowed red, their shadows stretching across ruined streets. Mothers clutched children, soldiers tightened their grips on stolen rifles. The world held its breath waiting for the fire. The resistance had been born, but would it survive the storm? Cliffhanger. The first blasts descend. Not on armies, but on cities. Flames consume Rio, Delhi burns. Earth screams. Beneath alien fire, yet in the smoke and ash, something unbreakable stirs. They called us primitive. We taught them fear. They rained fire upon us, thinking the world would kneel. The night sky over Rio de Janeiro glowed red. It was not the glow of sunset or festival lights. It was the death light of alien warships. Plasma cannons hummed above the clouds, building power until the air itself trembled. Then, without warning, the heavens split. A column of white-hot fire slammed into the city. Skyscrapers folded like paper. Streets erupted into molten rivers. In seconds, half the shoreline was gone, drowned in flame. The screams echoed across the world. In Delhi, it was the same. Warships hung like vultures, their cannons tearing through centuries of history in blinding blasts. The great bazaars, the ancient forts, the narrow alleys filled with life, all turned to ash in an instant. The aliens didn't target armies. They targeted homes, families, culture, humanity's soul. To the coalition, it was strategy. To Earth, it was slaughter. On the bridge of the flagship, Commander Varix watched the devastation with cold satisfaction. "This is the fate of defiance," he declared. They will learn fear, or they will burn. But what Varix didn't understand was this. Humans had seen fire before, and fire never broke them. It forged them. In Rio, through smoke and ash, survivors pulled each other from rubble. Mothers carried children with blistered arms. Firefighters sprinted into collapsing towers, dragging strangers to safety even as flames consumed them. In Delhi, soldiers ignored orders to retreat. Instead, forming human chains to rescue the trapped, civilians tore at rubble with bare hands, pulling friends and strangers alike from beneath the ruins. The air reeked of smoke and death, but within it, voices rose, defiant, unyielding. Every act of cruelty was a spark, every blast from above, only fueled the blaze inside humanity. The Resistance's radios crackled with desperate transmissions. They hit Rio, thousands dead. Delhi's burning. We need supplies. God help us. They won't stop. And yet, amidst despair, another voice joined the airwaves. A young woman, her voice ragged with smoke, spoke words that carried across frequencies, spreading like wildfire. They think we will break. But listen to me. We are still here. As long as one of us draws breath, Earth will fight. That message, simple and raw, echoed in a dozen languages. Across Europe, Africa, Asia, the Americas, fighters raised their weapons higher. The world had seen its darkest night. But instead of silence, it heard a roar. In the slums of Manila, children painted the words, "We are still here," on walls blackened with smoke. In the ruins of Paris, survivors carved it into broken stone. In New York, it appeared on banners stretched between skyscrapers, fluttering defiantly in the shadow of alien ships. Fear had been the aliens' weapon, but humans had seized it, twisted it, turned it into steel. The coalition soldiers began to notice. Patrols moved through cities expecting submission, but instead found ambushes. A rooftop sniper taking out an officer before melting back into the night. A convoy blown apart by homemade mines hidden beneath highways. Soldiers dragged into alleyways, vanishing before their comrades could react. Whispers spread among the invaders, whispers of shadows, of humans who wouldn't die even when burned, who rose from rubble with fire in their eyes. One captured soldier, trembling and broken, was dragged before Commander Varix. When asked what he had seen, his voice cracked with terror. They don't run. They don't hide. They burn. And then they come back stronger. They don't break, Commander. They only burn hotter. Varix's golden eyes narrowed. His claws clenched. Then we will burn the whole planet until nothing remains. But even as he spoke, his officers exchanged uneasy glances. They had seen something their commander hadn't. They had seen fear, not in the humans, but in their own soldiers. On Earth, the resistance grew bolder. Engineers began salvaging alien wreckage, turning broken weapons into crude but deadly tools. Hackers clawed at captured tech, probing for weaknesses. And fighters, ordinary men and women, wielded these alien prizes with grim determination. Humanity was adapting, evolving, turning fire into fuel. The coalition had come to teach fear. Instead, they had given birth to something far more dangerous. Cliffhanger. In the Rockies, a human strike team intercepts an alien convoy, one carrying advanced weapons. As they prepare the ambush, one fighter whispers into the night, "Tonight!" The fire spreads. The resistance is about to seize its first true prize. They called us primitive. We taught them fear. They called us primitive. Then they saw what primitives do with scraps. The ambush began in silence. In the Rockies, snow fell heavy and slow, blanketing the mountains in white. Alien transports crawled along a narrow pass, engines humming low as armored escorts scanned the ridges. Their convoy carried advanced weapons, crates of alien rifles, and energy cores destined for the occupation forces. To the coalition, it was routine. To the resistance, it was salvation. From the cliffs above, human fighters lay hidden beneath. White sheets, rifles wrapped in cloth to mute their sheen. Breath steamed in the cold air, hearts pounded in frozen silence. A single hand raised, clenched, then fell. The valley erupted. Explosives buried in snow detonated with bone-rattling thunder. The lead transport split apart in a blossom of fire, its alien plating twisted like paper. From the ridges, humans poured gunfire, muzzle flashes sparking against the dark. Alien soldiers scrambled, their glowing armor easy targets in the snow. The battle was brutal, uneven, savage. Aliens fired energy bolts that tore through rock and flesh alike, cutting fighters in half where they stood. But humans pressed on, rolling. Grenades down the slope, charging with rifles and knives. They didn't fight clean. They fought desperate, and desperation was something the Coalition had never trained for. Within minutes, the convoy was broken. Alien bodies lay half-buried. In snowdrifts, their blood steaming against the ice. Survivors fled into the storm, abandoning crates they had sworn to protect. The resistance surged forward, tearing open the cargo, and there, gleaming in the cold, was treasure. Alien rifles, still humming with energy. Power cores, data slates, armor shards. The fighters stared in silence, breathless. Then, slowly, a laugh broke through. One soldier lifted a rifle, its glow casting light across his soot-streaked face. "We've been throwing rocks," he whispered. "Now we throw fire." Word of the ambush spread across the resistance like a pulse. Engineers crowded around the captured weapons, their hands trembling as they dismantled alien technology with nothing more than crude tools and ingenuity. Hackers swarmed the data slates, their eyes burning with obsession as they sought to crack alien code. Within weeks, humanity had changed. In bunkers across Earth, crude workshops churned with activity. Welders cut steel and grafted alien plating onto homemade armor. Mechanics mounted energy cores onto trucks, turning them into cannons on wheels. Farmers reforged plows into weapons of war, powered by stolen cores. The world had been burning. Now it was arming. The first field test came in the ruins of Berlin. Alien patrols moved through shattered streets, weapons glowing, confident in their dominance. Then a resistance squad emerged from the shadows, not with rifles of steel, but with stolen weapons of fire. The aliens froze, their own technology staring back at them in human hands. Then the resistance opened fire. Beams of blue. Energy lit up the night, tearing through alien armor. Patrols fell, one after another, disbelief etched into their faces as they died by their own weapons. The news spread faster than the flames that consumed their bodies. Humanity had turned their arrogance against them. On the flagship, Commander Varix stared at the reports in disbelief. They should not even comprehend our technology, let alone wield it. His claws dug into the arm of his chair. They are primitives. But deep down, unease twisted in his gut. If primitives could learn this much in weeks, what would they do in months? Across Earth, the resistance grew teeth. In the Middle East, stolen weapons shredded an alien dropship before it could lift off. In Africa, energy rifles toppled an armored walker, its husk burning in the desert night. In South America, salvaged alien cannons mounted on trucks blasted occupation bases into rubble. The galaxy had thought Earth would kneel. Instead, Earth was standing taller, united, armed, vengeful. For the first time, humans weren't just resisting. They were winning. And in the shadows of every battlefield, soldiers whispered the same words, carved onto walls, etched into the hearts of survivors. They can bleed, and now they can fall. Cliffhanger. In orbit, alarms blare across the Coalition fleet. Multiple attacks reported. Simultaneous strikes across 3 continents. Commander Varix grips the railing, his voice shaking with rage. They are organizing. They are uniting. If we do not crush them now, we may never. The galaxy's most advanced fleet has just realized Earth is fighting back. They called us primitive. We taught them fear. They came as hunters. Now they hid as prey. Night in the ruins of Berlin was no longer silent. It breathed. It watched. It waited. Alien patrols stalked through the broken streets. They're glowing, armor casting pale light across shattered glass and burned stone. They moved in tight formations, weapons raised, scanning every shadow. Once, these soldiers had marched with arrogance. Now their movements were sharp, twitching, nervous, because in the dark, something hunted them. A faint whistle cut through the air. A soldier turned, too late. A beam of stolen energy carved through his visor. He dropped with a metallic scream, armor hissing as sparks danced across his body. Panic rippled through the patrol. "Shadows!" one soldier cried. "They're everywhere!" The humans struck fast, vanishing into alleys, rooftops, tunnels. The survivors fired blindly, plasma bolts tearing through ruins, but the streets swallowed their shots. One by one, they fell. When reinforcements arrived, they found only empty helmets and walls painted with a chilling message in human blood. We are the hunt across the world. The war had turned. In the jungles of the Amazon, alien walkers crashed beneath hidden traps, logs swinging down with primitive force, smashing advanced machines into the mud. In the deserts of Egypt, resistance fighters used stolen drones to lure convoys into sandstorms, where visibility dropped to nothing and ambushes turned battlefields into slaughterhouses. In the frozen Siberian tundra, hunters painted their armor, white striking alien patrols in the snow before melting away like ghosts. The coalition had expected a war of armies. What they found was a war of predators. Every hill was a sniper's nest. Every sewer was a tunnel system. Every forest was a labyrinth of traps. The entire planet had turned hostile, and the most terrifying weapon wasn't Earth's crude guns or even stolen alien rifles. It was unpredictability. Aliens trained for order, strategy, precision. Humans thrived in chaos. They turned it into art. On the flagship, Commander Varix stood over the holomap, his claws clenching tighter with each report. Patrols lost in Berlin, convoy destroyed in Cairo, a base in Buenos Aires, overrun. His officers shifted uncomfortably. Their voices trembled when they spoke. "Commander, they strike from shadows, then vanish. They know our patrol routes before we even deploy." "Sabotage," another muttered. "They're in our systems. They're in our minds." Varix slammed his fist against the console, sparks flaring. "Do not speak to me of fear. They are primitives, animals. This is nothing but desperation." But deep down, even Varix could feel it. His soldiers were whispering, avoiding patrols, looking over their shoulders in daylight. The hunters of the galaxy had become prey. On Earth, the resistance grew into something greater. Once they had been scattered groups. Now, they were a network. Nations shared intel. Fighters traded weapons, tech, and tactics. Radios carried coded messages across continents. Humanity, once fractured, was learning to act as one. In an underground bunker in London, leaders from across the globe gathered around a dimly lit table. The room shook from distant bombardments, dust falling from the ceiling. "They bleed," one commander said. "They fall. But fear alone won't win this war," another warned. "We need more. Coordination. Strikes that cripple. Not just sting." A young engineer, soot on his cheeks, leaned forward. His voice trembled, but his eyes burned with fire. "Then we strike at the head. We take their command hub in orbit. If we break that, we break them." The room fell silent. The suggestion was madness. Humanity had never left Earth with weapons in hand. Now they were talking about storming the heart of the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. And yet, no one said it was impossible. Not anymore. Meanwhile, in the ruins of Mexico City, an alien soldier cowered in the rubble, his weapon gone, his breath ragged. He wasn't alone. From the shadows, humans emerged, faces painted, weapons stolen, eyes burning. They said nothing. They didn't need to. The soldier dropped to his knees, shaking. For the first time in his life, he felt hunted. Back on the flagship, whispers spread among the officers. Stories of soldiers refusing to patrol. Stories of humans who fought with madness in their eyes, who laughed in the face of plasma fire, who used the ruins of their own cities as weapons, and whispers of something worse. Humans preparing for a strike not just on Earth, but in orbit. Varrix's golden eyes narrowed. He could feel the tide shifting, though his pride refused to admit it. "They are nothing," he growled. "They cannot touch us in space. They would never dare." But in the tunnels beneath Colorado, the resistance was already gathering stolen. Dropships, patching alien engines with human scrap, arming themselves for the unthinkable. Humanity had decided. The hunt was not enough. Now it was time for the kill. Cliffhanger. A stolen alien dropship, crudely modified, rises from a hidden base in the Rockies. Its hull rattles, its engines shriek, but it flies. And within it, human fighters steel themselves for the impossible. We're coming for their throne. They built fortresses in our skies. We turned them into our hunting grounds. The dropship shuddered as it clawed through Earth's atmosphere. Alarms screamed across its console, metal groaning, sparks showering the cabin. The hull had been patched with steel plates scavenged from factories. The wiring held together with twisted copper and human stubbornness. Inside, 20 fighters gripped stolen rifles, their knuckles white. They had never been this far from home, never looked down at Earth from the silence of space. Yet none trembled. Their eyes were set on the impossible, the massive alien command hub orbiting above the planet, the brain of the occupation. The hub glimmered like a dagger in the dark, rings of steel and light circling a colossal spire. Hundreds of turrets dotted its surface, weapons that had shattered entire fleets in distant wars. And yet tonight, it was prey. The dropship's comms crackled. "Control to Eagle 1. Confirm approach vector." The pilot, sweat dripping into. His eyes pressed the comm stud. "Control, this is—" He cut himself off. This wasn't the time for truth. "Coalition Patrol Delta 9, hull damage sustained. Requesting docking clearance." For a heartbeat, silence. Then the alien controllers. Voice echoed, smooth and mechanical. "Delta 9, your signal is irregular. Transmit authorization." The pilot shot a glance at the hacker crouched behind him. The kid's fingers danced across the stolen slate, patching code into alien systems with frantic speed. Sparks sprayed from the jury-rigged console. Then, with a triumphant grin, the hacker slammed a fist down. Authorization code transmitted. The comms crackled. "Delta 9, proceed." The dropship's crew let out a collective breath. They docked. The airlock hissed open, revealing sterile metal corridors lit with cold blue light. Alien guards turned, eyes widening as humans surged forward with rifles blazing. The first volleys tore through their armor, sparks painting the walls. Shouts echoed. The alarms screamed. The humans moved like shadows, cutting through the corridors, blasting through bulkheads. They fought with ferocity born of rage and desperation, every shot echoing with years of grief. They were here to end it. In the command chamber, Commander Varrix stood before the towering holomap, his officers trembling as alarms echoed through the hub. "Docking bay breach," one shouted. "Unknown hostiles, inside the station," Varrix snarled, his teeth bared. "It's them, the primitives." He turned, his golden eyes blazing with fury. "Seal the spire! Deploy everything! I want them erased!" But deep in his chest, something twisted. Fear. The resistance surged upward through the station, level by level. Plasma bolts seared past their heads, burning holes in walls, but the humans pressed on. They didn't fight clean. They fought dirty. Explosives strapped to doors, ambushes in narrow halls, knives flashing when rifles ran dry. At one point, a soldier dove onto an alien grenadier, pinning him with sheer weight before shoving the grenade back into his chest. The explosion painted the walls red. The humans roared. They weren't just fighting for victory. They were fighting to make every alien understand terror. Finally, the fighters stormed the command spire. The doors buckled, then burst, flames pouring, and smoke rolled across the chamber as the humans entered, filthy, scarred, armored in scraps of alien plating, their stolen rifles glowing, and at the far end stood Varix. The commander's towering frame was armored in gold, his claws gleaming, his eyes like molten fire. Around him, elite guards raised their weapons. The resistance leader stepped forward, rifle steady. "You thought we'd kneel." His voice was a growl. "We rise." The chamber exploded in chaos. Gunfire and plasma lit the spire, turning it into a storm of fire and steel. Humans dove between consoles, firing with unrelenting fury. Aliens roared, their armor flashing as beams carved through them. The floor shook, sparks rained, alarms howled. At the center, Varix fought like a beast unleashed. His claws tore through one fighter, his energy blade cutting another in half. Yet the humans did not break. They swarmed him, rifles blazing, grenades detonating at his feet. The commander staggered, roaring in fury. For the first time in his life, he felt pain. Real pain. And then, he felt fear. The hacker slammed the final code into the hub's core console, overriding alien systems with brutal simplicity. The spire's lights flickered, screens shattered, and the entire orbital station began to groan. "Systems collapsing!" the hacker shouted. "She's going down!" The resistance leader, bleeding and burned, raised his rifle at Varix. His voice was low, ragged, filled with fury. "You called us primitive. Now choke on what primitives do best." The rifle barked. Varix's chest burst with fire. The alien commander staggered, choking, collapsing as the chamber shook apart. The humans turned and ran. Their dropship tore free of the docking ring just as the station erupted. Explosions rippled along its surface, tearing through the spire, shattering its rings. Fire blossomed in the void, shards of metal scattering across the stars. From Earth below, people looked up and saw their sky blaze with falling wreckage. And, for the first time since the invasion, they cheered. The impossible had been done. The hunters had been hunted. The gods of war had been broken. And humanity was no longer just surviving. Humanity was winning. Cliffhanger. As the debris burns across the sky, human radios crackle with a chilling message intercepted from the fleeing fleet. "Retreat, regroup, call for reinforcements. They are not what we thought. The galaxy now knows. Earth is coming. They called us primitive. We taught them fear. They came to break us. Instead, they made us whole." The ruins of Earth smoldered, but the sky was brighter than it had been in years. Alien fire still scarred the cities, but above, the shattered. Remains of the orbital hub drifted like a broken crown. To humanity, it wasn't debris, it was proof. For the first time since the invasion began, the world cheered. From the shattered streets of New York to the rubble of Cairo, from the frozen silence of Siberia to the jungles of Brazil, voices rose in defiance. The impossible had been done. Humanity had not only survived, humanity had struck back. But war wasn't over. On the horizon of space, alien fleets regrouped. Sleek warships turned away from Earth, engines burning as they fled to the edge of the system. Their comms pulsed across the stars, fragmented, frantic, fearful. They're monsters. They fight like no species we've ever faced. They will not stop. The Coalition had called Earth a backwater world. Now their fleets whispered of Earth as a graveyard. In an underground command center carved into the Rockies, the resistance gathered. The leaders, who had once been scattered across broken nations, now sat at the same table, lit by the glow of holomaps stitched together with stolen alien tech. Reports poured in, aliens retreating from major cities, civilians rallying in the ruins, fighters rebuilding their ranks, but one truth hung heavy in the air. "They'll return," one commander said grimly, "with more ships, with more firepower." The room fell into silence. Fear threatened to creep back in. Then the resistance leader, the one who had faced Varix in the command spire, leaned forward, eyes like steel. "Then let them come." The words hit the table like a hammer. "We've shown them we can bleed them. We've shown them their fortresses burn, and if they come back—" His voice dropped, sharp as a blade. "We'll show them something worse. That this little primitive world doesn't just survive. We end wars." Around the table, heads lifted, eyes hardened. For the first time, humanity was united not by desperation, but by purpose. On the edge of the system, alien ships lingered. Crews huddled in silence, haunted by the screams of the station's destruction. Commanders barked orders, but soldiers whispered of shadows in the ruins, of humans who laughed in fire, of soldiers who fought even with their guts spilling from their bellies. In their eyes, Earth was cursed, and the whispers spread across the stars. Across the Coalition's vast empire, Earth, the backwater, the forgotten world, was now a name spoken with dread. Back on Earth, survivors rebuilt. Children scavenged bricks from ruins to raise new walls. Engineers patched power lines with alien scrap. Farmers turned battlefields into fields again. But even as life began to return, the war had carved something permanent into humanity's soul. They no longer saw themselves as broken. They saw themselves as feared. One night, standing on the ridge, above the shattered city of Berlin, the resistance leader looked up at the stars. Smoke curled from the ruins below, but the night sky stretched endless above him. A soldier approached quietly. "Do you think they'll come back?" The leader's lips curled into a grim smile. "Of course, but now." "They'll hesitate." The soldier frowned. "Because they fear us?" The leader's gaze burned into the stars. "No. Because they finally understand us." He let the words hang in the silence of the night. "They thought we were primitive because we fight with scraps, because we bleed, because we don't have fleets or plasma cannons. But what they don't understand," he turned, eyes sharp as knives, "is that those are the things that make us terrifying. We are the ones who keep fighting when the world is ash. We are the ones who learn from every blow. And when the galaxy sees that," he looked skyward again, voice low but unshakable, "they'll realize Earth is the last place you ever want to conquer." And so the story spread, not from alien records, not from official channels, but from the whispers of terrified survivors in alien fleets, carried across stars like a plague. They called humans primitive, but the new name that spread across the galaxy was different: hunters. The galaxy learned a truth it would never forget. Humanity doesn't bow. Humanity doesn't break. Humanity teaches fear. Final moral, HFY. They thought strength was in weapons, fleets, and fire. They forgot the oldest truth of war, that the fiercest weapon is will. Humanity had it in endless supply, and that made them unstoppable.